am going to be talking basically about how we can control the government, our government in this nation right now, the national government, the federal government as they call it. We can control it very simple. Now, there's a lot of people out there that are talking about different areas. They're talking about the problem with the Federal Reserve Bank situation, the fractional banking. It is a serious problem. They're talking about all of the things that, the rules and the regulations that are put into the system to control us. And they're talking about these. They're researching the problem. They're digging out the truth. Now, we need a solution that is very simple. We need a solution that we can convey to Joe Sixpack out there and his family. We have to understand and remember the fact that all of us, almost without exception, are victims of a government school system. The comprehension level of the average American out there is not up to a point where they can understand any complex situation or solution. So we have to talk about a very simple solution. We have to reach these people at their level. We have to communicate with them at their level. And what I am going to go through here with these visual aids of mine is very simple. There is nothing complex about it. And I want to convey to my fellow American out there, my countrymen, the fact that we have a solution that is an orderly solution, a solution that will work. It takes the power away from this monster and puts the people up here and puts the people back in control. Now, when we went to the government school, when we were students in the government school, they had a class in our high school years. They had a class, in the younger generation here, they had a class called government. When I went to high school, they called it civics. They taught us what the government wanted us to believe about how the system was designed to function. That's what we were taught. We have to recognize that government does not want us to know how to control government. They do not want us to know that we, the people, have power. It is our power that government has been utilizing to run up this tremendous, well, I guess it's multi-trillion-dollar debt. They've used our power to do all kinds of things to control we the people. Now, when we went to that government school, they taught us that, I better put that down here, and I'll take this one out of the way. They said that we control the monster, the governments, locals, state, federal. They said we control it with our vote on election day, right? They said you elect the president every 4 years, you elect your congressmen and your senators, and that is how you control government. They say your representatives, they will represent you and they will control the monster. Well, who is it that has been putting all of these taxes and rules and regulations on it? It's our representatives, isn't it? Because we have found that we elect people to Congress, we elect people to the Senate, we elect a president, and they violate their campaign promises. They say they're going to balance the budget, and instead of balancing the budget, they give us bigger deficits. So we have to put more bars on the cage. And so we're going to put some bars on this cage, the bars that really control government. The grand jury. They didn't teach us about the grand jury and how that the grand jury is put into our system, was put into our system back there to control the monster. The trial jury. They didn't tell us that that is our third vote in the system. You notice what I said, the third vote? They didn't teach us in that government school that we have a 3-vote political system. You have to be a registered voter to vote on election day for the congressmen and senators and presidents. You have to be a registered voter to get called for grand jury duty because you're going to vote. You're going to vote here and you're going to vote here, and you have to be a registered voter to get called for that federal trial, that petit jury duty. Now, we have here a 3-vote system, and this is what the founders gave us back there when they ratified the Constitution for the United States of America, when they had declared their independence from King George III and his government. And so what has happened here is we, the people, using all 3 of our votes, we have put ourselves up here. Now, we cannot expect our representatives in Congress, our senators, and our President of the United States to put us up here. There's only one way that we can get ourselves, put ourselves from here up to here. And the only way we can do that is by exercising this vote here, the grand jury vote, and the trial jury vote. Now, what I'm talking about here is something that Joe Sixpack out there, when he watches this television program, he can understand what I'm saying. On this grand jury, the grand jury, they can use their votes to investigate the criminal activity of Internal Revenue Service agents. You say, well, they must have some law. No, they don't have a law. And what they are doing is they are out here using fear against the American people. Now, I'm going to give you an example. A couple of years ago, just before April 15th, there was a Congressional Oversight Committee that had hearings on IRS abuse. IRS abuse, Internal Revenue Service abuse. And there was a lady that was invited to come and testify before that committee, and she was a widow woman from down in the eastern coastline there, North Carolina, as I remember. And she was a widow woman because of the Internal Revenue Service. And she testified how that the Internal Revenue Service had put a monstrous big assessment against her and her husband. They seized their bank account, they tied up their property, all of their assets were tied up, and they had no resources whatever with which to hire competent counsel to try to unravel this mess that was created by Internal Revenue Service employees. She came home one day and she found a note from her husband. He says, "You will find my body in the back lot." He says, "I'm going to commit suicide. You are to take the insurance money, hire the competent counsel that you need to unravel this mess, and you'll get it all straightened out." She found his body in the back lot, just as he said. She took the insurance money, hired competent counsel, and they were able to prove that these two people, this man and wife, did not owe the IRS one single dime. They were not tax protesters. They were targeted by the IRS, and they were abused by the IRS, and this man committed suicide, and I call it murder by suicide. Those IRS agents are still out there running loose in this country. They are out there, and when they're out there doing their thing, this monster is loose. This monster is out there terrorizing more people because the grand jury in particular in that location. Now, this was on national television, these hearings before the Congressional Oversight Committee. The grand jury, federal grand jury in that area, it was their responsibility. They should have immediately subpoenaed the district director of the Internal Revenue Service. They should have gotten the names of the IRS agents that were responsible. And they should have investigated, and they should have indicted, and those people should have gone to jail.